You just let me know, and I don't know that we're waiting for Councilor Martin, or
Oh, I think I just saw a text from you.
I haven't heard anything. Oh, I do have a notification.
Oh,
Minutes today won't make it, okay.
yep, the sheet.
All right, what else? We're good to go? Okay, well, good evening. I'm calling to order tonight's city council meeting for the city of Brookings for Monday, March 24th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilor Malmberg.
Here.
Councilor Pereira.
Here.
Councilor Martin. Councilor Fulton.
Here.
Mayor Hodges.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, moving on to oral requests and communication from the audience. I do not see any.
Do you have to sign up or something?
Yes, can we get him to sign up and, okay. Yeah, we'll get you signed up, okay?
This is the first one I've been in.
Are you speaking on the agenda item?
I don't know.
Okay. So basically the way it works is we just have a sheet of paper, there you go.
Thank you.
And if it's okay, we could go to the consent calendar and come back. Are you guys agreeable to that? Yep. Okay, we'll come back to that. So moving on to item E, consent calendar. It's to approve the council minutes for March 10th, 2025, accept the Parks and Recreation minutes for July 25th, 2025, right?
That one is for 2024.
That is 2024,
Yeah,
okay.
they just
And
haven't had a
then,
meeting.
and then the monthly financial report, however, is for 2025, but it said 2024 in the packet. So we would want to make sure we're approving it with the new financial report. And we all received a copy of this, correct?
Correct.
Did anyone need more time to look over that, or?
No.
No,
Not me.
not from me.
Okay,
I'll motion to approve the consent calendar with the amended financial report for February 2025.
I'll second. We'll call the question.
Councilor Fulton.
Yes.
Councilor Pereira.
Yes.
Councilor Malmberg.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, moving back to agenda item D, public comment. Matt Tankeray, you want to step on up? So Matt, the way we do this is your name and your address, and then you'll have 5 minutes to make your comment.
Great, Matt Panquery, 1241 Roland Lane, here in Brookings. And I just want to thank you guys for everything you do. You're doing a great job. I just wanted to bring something to your attention. I moved here in June of 2015, so it'll be 10 years in a couple months, and I live on Roland Lane. And there's a stretch of street between between Arnold and Smith. And for as long as I've been here, it's been riddled with potholes. And you know, when it gets bad, I call the city and they come out, they put their tar in or whatever it is. And I just noticed on the way over here, they must have done it just recently. But a couple summers ago, I saw the street guys out there marking up the street, you know, scraping. So I went and talked to him. And I talked to Tim, I don't remember his last name, but I know he was, I think, head of the street department. I think he retired. But he mentioned that they were preparing to replace the sewer lines and that we were going to get a nice new street there. And that was going to happen the next summer, which was this last summer. And so, you know, my question is basically, is there something planned for that? Is there, and if there is what's the status of it? I mean, is it is it on hold? Is it being pushed back because of other things? I think last summer it's probably pushed back because of the athletic field and all that, which was great. But I'm just curious as to if there is a plan to replace the sewer line, like I was told, and get a new street. I don't care about the sewer line so much. I'm more interested in a new street. So does anybody know anything about that?
We can certainly get you more details, and Tony Barron is my public works director right here,
Right.
and we can get, did you put your contact information here?
I did.
Yes, we will get in touch with you, sir, and give you the updates on that.
Okay, appreciate it. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Just sitting list. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, moving back on to agenda item F, staff reports, public hearings, ordinance, resolutions, and final orders. Number one, the 24-25 street paving projects.
Thank you, Mayor Hodges, members of the council. The 2024-25 street paving program projects include street paving on Pacific Avenue, Parkview Drive, Chetco Lane, Dawson and Pasley Roads, Hillside Avenue, and Valley Street. Alternative paving projects included in the bid received from Tidewater are the patching of utility cuts in various locations around town. Tidewater contractors submitted a bid of $338,180 for the 2024 street paving program projects. Funding for the projects are budgeted from the City of Brookings Street Pavement Replacement Funds, which is funded through our fuel tax revenues. Tidewater was the lone respondent in the request for bids, and the bids attached. Any questions?
I would just like to see if maybe we as a city can reach out a wider swath of people, entities. I know that, things might have even gone up as far as Portland, but maybe even a little closer to us, Grants Pass or Medford or Coos Bay or Roseburg, where they could at least give us another bit. I love Tidewater and I think it's great, and I want to try to give local when we can, but just moving forward, being able to make sure that the numbers are adjusted correctly as far as from one entity to another, just to have at least two. I know it's a 3 bid required, right?
Well, not in this case. When we do a formal bid, no. Tony reaches out to all the regional paving companies in this whole area. Then we do advertising, like I say, as far north as Portland, trying to get folks to come in and do it. But as far as the actual bid process, when you do a formalized bid, sometimes you only get a bid. And that's
for
it.
sure.
So yeah,
For sure.
and that's what we got on this one. So, but we're not, when we do it that way, we're not actually required to get 3 bids.
So when do we do one or the other then? Which way, when do we just
Well, there's a difference.
this way compared to the other way? Someone help me out.
Procurement policy says anything over 100,000, you advertise it formally. Anything below that, you can request you reach out to 3 different contractors.
Under 3, then we go out and basically get 3 quotes, or 3 bids, I guess you could say, but 3 quotes. Anything over the formalized, we have to go out, advertise a swath of area, and then go out for that. But unfortunately, like I had mentioned earlier, sometimes when you do $338,000, when I first started my career, that was a big paving job. Not so much anymore.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's just not, unfortunately. I mean, Councilor Malmberg can attest, with what he does. It's just because of the cost of inflation, the cost of materials, and it's just very difficult to get contractors from outside the region or even sometimes inside the region to acquire a lot of bids for a job like this. I mean, they'll come down for big state roads and big contracts of that nature, but unfortunately, this is one that we did, and I believe, Tony, you contacted everybody within the area.
No, I did not.
I mean,
Not
with
in this
the,
one. I've done it in the past. I mean, this is, I don't know, since 2018, every year we do this, and Tidewater is the only one who submits a bid.
But you submit it out, you put it out there.
We always advertise it.
You put it out there.
I mean, the local asphalt paving plant is Tidewater. So if a company's going to come into town and pave our streets that's out of town, they're not going to get the same price for the asphalt that Tidewater. So Tidewater's always going to be the most competitive bid that we ever receive because they're local. No paving company is going to come into town, stage, get ready to do projects like this when they're competing with somebody who's can undercut their asphalt.
Well, and yeah, you can't truck asphalt for more than an hour
so,
before
I mean,
it's so cold you can't use it.
Right.
So
Well, I think the intent of, and tell me if I'm wrong, but the intent of Councilor Fulton's question is just, or remark, is just that we want to be able to prove
Sure.
that we're sticking to the procurement law. And I mean, to your point, where we're at, we're so rural, this is going to happen, but we just want to, always make it clear that we're following those guidelines.
Absolutely.
That we're trying,
Absolutely. Yeah.
is your point, I think.
Absolutely.
I had another question. I know that we're kind of itemizing specific stretches of roadway, and how do you handle it like when you have a situation like this gentleman here who's brought up that, hey, there's this little spot maybe you forgot about. How does that work? Do you have a separate budget that you can do miscellaneous areas with, or are you pretty much stuck to
Yeah, we have obviously you can do a change order to add, we try and do a broad scope, but Roland Lane, I can answer the question now. Roland Lane is going to have a new sewer line put under through the USDA project, so we're not going to pave that road until we get the sewer line done. So
We're waiting on funding.
we're waiting for that project to be completed, then it'll be paved. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was my only question, which was already answered, but just, none of this stuff we plan on ripping up anytime soon, after we do all the paving work. So.
Right.
Good conversation. Anything else? Any more discussion? Or a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with Tidewater Contractors to pave various streets identified in the 2022 pavement management plan update.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Pereira.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to F, number 2, Bud Cross improvements.
The proposed Bud Cross improvement project includes improvements in the area between the ball fields as well as the development of the parking lot accessed off Hassett Street. Proposed park improvements include day-use picnic area, play structure, ADA pathway improvements, landscape upgrades, parking lot paving, storm drainage improvements. The project was identified in the 2011 City Brookings Parks Master Plan and was one of the top 15 priority projects identified in the Parks and Recreation Commission by the Parks and Recreation Commission in 2013-14 fiscal year. Staff applied for an Oregon Parks and Rec Department local government grant in 2013 and was not awarded. This project was put on hold during the time the city explored the redevelopment of Bud Cross, including the pool facility, into a recreation center through a Parks and Rec district formation, which was voted down by voters in the fall of 2021. The Parks and Recreation Commission reviewed the proposed project at Bud Cross during their March 2025 meeting and voted unanimously to forward a recommendation to City Council for project support. Staff launched a web-based survey in the community on March 18th to gather support or opposition to the project and have received today almost 170 responses, of which 93% of them were in favor of the project. There's a link also associated here. I think, I don't know if you guys are aware, but it also made it, the project made it on the local news over in Medford, and the link to give feedback on that survey was provided. The total combined project costs for Bud Cross pedestrian and parking lot improvements are estimated at $458,130. The grant requires 40% match funds, therefore a $183,252 matching amount would be paid for from available Parks SDC funds. The projects are SDC eligible and as it adds capacity to the park. We're looking for here, we have 2 resolutions. We have 2 different grants that we're applying for. One's a small grant, which is under $100,000. One's a large grant, which is over $100,000. So we're applying for both. So we need resolutions for both of them, which is listed in the motion. I know we sent out a small image in the packet. Of course, it's 8.5 by 11, but it is a reduced version of the enlarged version there. And then those are just samples of what the play structure and swing set would be like there. So it includes, show you, it includes the parking lot development off Passett Street here, and then this picnic area here that has a play structure. The plan that was developed back in 2013, which it's almost identical. The only difference is this piece here was completed already, which is the stairway down into the park where the restrooms are. And then we put a sidewalk down 3rd Street. When we did receive the grant funds, we found other funding to do this part of the project. Interesting, the photo that they're showing in the Medford website actually shows that area where the stair is before we did the stair project. In that area, it was very treacherous to walk down. Even kids would walk down under their cleats and just slip and fall because it was gravel. So that was a huge improvement that we made there. We would just like to extend and finish, I think, what was originally intended in Bud Cross. So if you have any questions.
Sir, just looks like the parking lot that's proposed to be paved is graded to the center, so is there some storm drain that you're going to have to tie into?
Yeah, if you look at the photo, you kind of see in there a little bit of a dash line that kind of comes from the ball field. The inlet is actually right in line with that storm drain line, so we put a manhole right in line with that.
And just drain it out to Hassett or whatever.
It drains out. There's a drainage swale, or there's a drainage entry on the west end of the parking lot currently there now.
Got it. And then is there any plans to extend the sidewalk on 3rd up to the corner as part of this, or is that?
Not in this plan. There had been discussions in the past, I don't know if you remember, but we took out that little center median.
Yeah.
And the idea was, there's not really enough room to put a sidewalk right now where the curb is, but the idea would be to realign that curb to give enough space for a sidewalk up to there.
Yeah, no.
That would be a streets project
Got it.
that we would look into doing.
I'm really excited about this. I think it's phenomenal. But and maybe this, I'm just not seeing it, but is this all fenced?
The whole park? No.
It won't be.
No.
So the play structure and area, how are we keeping that in good shape?
It's open for use, just like all our other ones.
Well, like Easy Manor, it's got a fence.
Yeah, Easy Manor's a little different, but yeah. I don't know why it has a fence. I think it's always had a fence. Azalea Park doesn't, though. I mean, the ball field play structure at Azalea Park doesn't. It has a fence around the backside, just mainly to protect them from falling down the hill. This has a fence along the backside to keep the play structure separated from the properties.
Have we had any issues in like Azalea Park, for example, with people abusing that?
The play structure? Mm-hmm. Not really. I mean, Kid Town, we see some vandalism there, but it's a heavily used.
We have cameras.
Yeah, it's heavily used. These play structures are probably used half as much as Kid Town, if that. And the one at the ball field at Azalea Park, same. It only gets used when people are there at the ball fields or for soccer, baseball.
I think it's great.
Sometimes I think with this development, I think this area will become a destination, not just during Little League season and not during just soccer. I think it'll really draw a whole different group in there than just those users.
I have a question. As far as coming from the existing gravel parking and going to the other ball area, are they having to step down into the parking area, the existing paved parking area, or is that like open there in that corner so that way people can then go down and then come back up on that, the ramp B, I guess you are called. So coming from the existing gravel parking and past the play structure into that next existing paved parking, is that there'll be people needing to get from the other existing gravel to this other field to sit, So is that area already like marked off for parking, or can you walk?
You can walk, there's no parking in that area.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, there's no parking in that area.
And my second question, that equipment shed, how long has that been there for?
Well, probably a couple decades longer, maybe. It's the Little League's storage shed.
Gotcha.
That's where they store all their equipment.
Oh, for Little League?
Yeah.
But not for like any of our mowing and stuff?
No.
Okay.
No, we don't store any equipment at this park. We don't store equipment at any park other than Azalea Park where our shop is.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for providing the larger map so that we could see, and the nice big drawings and renderings of possible things. And I also wanted to thank staff for putting out that survey. I think that's huge. I think it's important that we hear from a community. For any public watching who hasn't yet commented, go to the link, please comment. I'm excited that we've already got that great of a response. I think that's huge in such a short time to have gotten that much response. So I really appreciate the efforts on staff's part to make sure that we got that information.
Yeah, we received letters of support from Little League, the soccer club, the users that use it. And then, you know, it was put out there, you could see there's a lot of swimming pool advocates on there. So it's a good range. And there are some that, you know, are concerned about how it's getting paid for. I don't think they understand, you know, how we're doing it. You know, in this, I don't think the survey goes into the details about the grant. I think it's just mostly focused on trying to get information from people on how they feel about using the park with its new development. Not necessarily, hey, would you support it if we got a grant for it? You know,
Right. That only makes it all the better, right? That we're getting these funds in and the city isn't having to do the full output of that. Yeah. And I agree with you. I think this will become a park that people head to visit, not just utilize while they're already there for other things.
Another question about the ramp A. Looks like it's showing a gate there.
It's like gateway, it's like a archway entry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a.
So it's not like blocking access or something like that? Okay.
No, there are bollards out in front of it currently now, so people don't drive up that little. We cut the ramp in just so that people can get from that park. Before it was just a hillside, you had to climb up onto it, and so we cut that ramp in just to get people up there, which made a huge difference. And we also, back in 2013-14, we put storm drainage in this picnic area. So it's already, the infrastructure, the underground infrastructure is already in place for this. So we were anticipating this project. And then, you know, the whole rec center project kind of developed and started to move forward, and we really just tabled this project. Even though this is a high priority, we had to table it because if we were able to do the rec center project, it would have rendered this project, you couldn't build it the way this is now. So
I think I can attest being fairly close to this park where I live. I think most of the neighbors are going to be pretty happy not to hear people doing donuts out there all the time and in the gravel, and so I think that'll probably get a lot of happy people with it having a hard surface out there.
Yeah.
But
I did have one more question. What about lighting? Is that changing at all?
Well, the park isn't used at night, so we don't really, I mean, we have parking lot lighting at Azalea Park because we have ball field lights. And so when people leave the park at night, they can, we don't have any lighting in the plan.
Okay.
That's a good idea, though.
There goes the neighbors.
I don't want lights out there all night.
Right in a neighborhood, they probably wouldn't like that.
And we don't have any parking lot lighting in the pool parking lot. We do have one pole light that kind of shines out that way.
Yeah.
Well, I remember we used to have, you know, at night for basketball and tennis even, the push light.
Yeah, you have that, you still have that.
Okay.
It's just this parking lot really is, you know, it's used during the day. So really supposed to be anyway.
Okay.
If that's a request, I mean, we could look into that.
Not at all. I just was wondering.
Okay.
I would say, if anything, put a gate up at night. Probably don't want people parking there all night.
Yeah.
But yeah, that isn't the case now. There's rarely anyone there after the baseball games. It's just kind of fills up for the tournaments and stuff. And people go away after that.
So the motion has, it's sort of threefold. It's 2 resolutions and authorization for the mayor to sign letters of support for the project, and those are included. We have to submit 2, one for the small and one for the large, just like the resolutions.
Is that all listed in the recommended motion?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay. Any more discussion, or anyone want to make a motion?
I'll motion to adopt Resolution 25-R-1268 and 25-R-1269, authorizing submission of local government grant program applications to the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for park improvement projects at Bud Cross Park, and authorizing the mayor to sign letters of support on behalf of the city council.
I second it.
Call the question?
Counselor Pereira.
Yes.
Counselor Lomberg.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item F, number 3, letter to Senator Smith and Representative Boyce opposing the proposed overlapping super health district and forced redistribution of services.
Mayor and council, before you tonight is a letter that was requested to be sent to Senator Smith and Representative Boyce in regards to the proposed overlapping super health district and forced redistribution of the services. There was a proposal being circulated by United Food and Commercial Workers, which is the UFCW, Local 555, regarding the future of the Bay Area hospitals and the significant impact. The discussion also goes on to discuss that currently the Bay Area Hospital is $50 million in debt, and there is a potential for legislation that would form a super health district here in southern Oregon that would include not only the Bay Area, but I believe 4 others as well, including the Curry Health District. There was a lot of, if you saw in the paper last week, there was a lot of discussion both by Senator Smith and Representative Boyce, who are vehemently opposed to this simply because they feel like it would actually hurt the existing health districts that are in place. And the mayor, if you would like to go into a little bit more detail as to regards to impact this might have.
Yeah, so, essentially what you're seeing here is just a letter to address this proposal that has been proposed by this union. And it's very, very difficult really for me to wrap my hands or my head around and trying to read it myself because it seems very under the table. But yet it's out there. And essentially what it's saying is this is a union proposal to keep Bay Area Hospital from being purchased. Because right now there is a proposal or even a contractual proposal pushed forward by an outside group. I believe their name is Quorum. And if they are taken over, that does a lot to the union that's currently there. So I don't know specifics, obviously. But with that, what I do know is in our community to have this proposal put forward by the union, which would essentially impose a tax on us for their hospital to pay their debt, is just absolutely ludicrous in my mind. And so while I feel for Bay Area Hospital and they're trying to figure out some other way, probably to hold on to whatever they may lose with this other hospital's buyout, it should not fall onto our city's citizens to cover that debt. And so really that's from my side. I know I work in healthcare, and I'm probably going to sort of keep clear of this vote, even though this doesn't impact me financially, but I don't want it to look bad. But I can tell you, as the mayor and knowing our city, I believe is pretty staunch on what they want to pay taxes for. Paying taxes for the debt of a hospital over 2 hours away is not what they would want to pay taxes for. And I think representatives of the city need to put a letter forward that states that we do not support this at all. The legalities of it and how this can even go forward is still, like I said, I don't understand how this is even legal, but it's out there, and I just want us to be in front of it, to say that we in no way do support this. The state, I guess, has also somehow agreed at the legislative level to write off or pay for half of the $50 million debt if this super tax district did come into fruition, and would again be about $25 million they feel like it would generate. So the state's saying, essentially, if you're able to get that $25 million, we'll pay the other $25 million. Well, that, and again, makes my eyes go open. So who at the state is supporting this, and why? And the fact that they would come in and say, you get half, we'll pay half, that just blows my mind. So there's so much to this that is just underhanded and doesn't make any sense, but it is out there. The proposal itself is at the legislative level. I know for a fact our local representatives are already, it's been in the paper, already fighting against it. So it is being kicked around as a real discussion, and I just want us to be in front of that. I don't know if there's any specifics. It really would affect, the taxpayers doubly so that are in the health district. So you may or may not know that Brookings is not in the health district for Curry General Hospital, our closest hospital, but from Pistol River North they are. So those poor voters would be paying a tax for Curry General and for Bay Area. And the other part, and I am not sure again how this vote would really roll out. It just seems so preposterous. But if for some reason, in the Coos County, if they really got behind this, and I'm not saying they would, and it became a vote between the two counties, again, I don't know how this would roll out. Even if we all voted no in Curry, if they voted yes, they're like 2-1 on us. Mm-hmm. So I don't even want a chance at getting to a vote if so it were. I feel like it shouldn't even make it to the legislature. So I really feel like we need to oppose this. That's my view.
Who is this union? What relation are they to the hospital?
I believe that they are, so Bay Area Hospital is a union hospital. I know the nurses union is up there, and I'm fairly sure that this is
maybe employees of the hospital.
Nurses union. I don't know what other areas of the hospital are also a part of that union.
Okay.
I would imagine that, you're talking retirement. You're talking a lot of things that they're having at risk up there, and I feel really bad for them. But again, and where does that land on us?
I'm in agreement with you. While I can have empathy for their situation, I don't believe it should be the burden of the taxpayers to bail them out. So I'm in support of approving this.
Yeah, I know that's been, a real struggle just to have, a hospital with an emergency room here in Brookings. And, I know the community fought really hard to be able to have that resource. And so anything that jeopardizes that, I'd be opposed to.
Agreed.
Do we have a motion?
Yep. I motion to authorize the mayor to sign a letter to Senator Smith and Representative Boyce opposing the proposed overlapping super health district and forced redistribution of services.
I second.
Call the question?
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton,
Yes.
Counselor Pereira,
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
I'll recuse myself.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item F4, Rural Assistance for Rural Environments, RARE, the 24-25 application.
Grant season. All of these grants, by the way, Wendy Giordano, our grant person she's been a grant manager. She's been working very hard to get these together, and they all have really close deadlines. So this is for rural assistance for rural environments. So it's short for, or RARE is short for this long title. The mission of RARE program is to increase the capacity of rural communities to improve their economic, social, environmental conditions through the assistance of trained graduate participant levels, or level participants. The City of Brookings sponsored RARE participants, students in 2010. We did a master plan update then. 2013, we did some GIS updates, and then in 2022, we had we had one after that, 2017, and that RARE participant worked on some water quality, and I believe they put the disc golf course in at Azalea Park. That was one of their projects. And then in 2022, we did the update to the Parks Master Plan. This application focuses on recruiting a student who has a geographical information system skills to work on the following project options. Lead efforts to update our GIS by collecting, verifying, and inputting essential infrastructure data, including water, sewer, stormwater, and transportation systems. Assist in identifying, verifying, and documenting lead service line, ensuring compliance with federal regulations, collect and organize data, coordinate reporting efforts, and support the development of long-term replacement strategy to enhance public health and water quality management. Third project is create an interactive story map to showcase key tourism destinations and attractions. This online map-based tool will visually highlight Brookings' unique assets, including scenic beaches, coastal views, hiking trails, river access points, fishing locations, and the list goes on and on and on, and I won't continue. The story map will serve as a dynamic, user-friendly resource for residents and visitors, integrating maps, images, and descriptions to enhance tourism promotion efforts. It will be accessed via the city's website and social media channels, supporting economic development by drawing attention to local businesses and attractions. So the financial piece of this, the RARE program requires a $26,500 cash match. The city will be applying for a Ford Family Foundation contribution up to $10,000 that will reduce our obligation if awarded. The RARE program would be paid in the 2025-26 operating budget. The Geographical Information System, GIS update work would be charged as appropriate to water, sewer, storm drain, and streets. The work related to lead service line inventory and reporting would be charged to water. The work related to story map creation would be charged to transient lodging tax and potentially general fund. So with that, I have two motions prepared. One is to adopt the resolution to authorize city manager for us to apply for the grant, and then authorize the cash match of $26,500 to pay for RARE participant. Got any questions? There's attached just sort of an information piece on the program out of U of O. The RARE program's out of U of O, and they're graduate students.
How long would so it's like a student internship kind of thing? How long would it go for? Is
It's usually 11 months, or roughly 11 to a year. It's roughly a year.
So it's a good amount of time to complete a project then. Cool.
Yeah. And both Wendy and I would be basically their supervisor, making sure they're following. They have a person, the RARE program up at U of O, that also tracks and monitors their progress through and making sure that they're meeting their goals for the program as well.
Yeah. good for them as well.
We have a good
Get some-
history with them.
Get some hands-on experience as well, so that's good.
Yeah, I love that about this also, that it is a collaborative effort, that it's getting them some boots on the ground time and some experience in the setting, but it's also a benefit to our community, so. And I did a little looking up of that story map to see what that could look like, and I think that's really cool. I think that would be great for our community to have that available.
Yeah, I think that was something we talked about. It's been a long time doing.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it, urban renewal, economic development, and just tourism. So, it's when you apply for these rare participants, you want to try and pick projects that sort of match what they're doing in school. In their graduate program. And so a lot of times you get landscape architecture students because they're working on parks master plans or, doing work like that. But sometimes you get people out of the geography department doing GIS stuff and surveying. So this would be a little bit of a mix of both, I think, if we were able to. And that you're supposed to pick up to 5 projects, and then they'll select which one they feel like is going to fit that person. Right?
Oh,
so
okay.
We listed 3 different projects here with a good range, and the story map, we're hoping that sounds like anything anyone can do, really, under our direction.
All right, any more discussion, or do we have a motion?
I'll motion to adopt Resolution 25-R-1270 to authorize the city manager or his designee to apply for rare assistant and authorize a cash match of up to $26,500 to pay for the rare assistant.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Freda.
Yes.
Counselor Long.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Excellent. Item F5, drinking water source protection grant application.
In June of 2023, the Oregon legislature passed House Bill 2010 that, combined with other legislation, allocates $5 million to establish the Drinking Water Source Protection Grant Program. The City of Brookings is seeking to apply for funding through the Oregon Health Authority's Drinking Water Source Protection Fund to implement critical protection measures at the city's drinking water intake site along Checo River. The project designed to safeguard the city's water source to reduce the risk of contamination in the highly permeable, unconfined aquifer that supplies drinking water. The proposed projects include installation of a chain link fence along North Bank Road, including 2 vehicle access gates, placement of temporary signage to inform public in advance of the installation of 2 permanent signs to raise awareness of the designated drinking water protection area, funding support for local volunteer groups to aid in river cleanup efforts by providing supplies and covering garbage disposal costs. Those are all eligible projects that can be funded through this grant. The fencing will serve as a deterrent to unauthorized dumping and trespassing, reducing potential contamination risks in the immediate vicinity of the city's water intake. The project timeline for fencing and signage installation is estimated from April 2026 through October 2026, with continued support for trash cleanup efforts during the 2026 and 2027 recreation seasons. If approved, the city manager or their designee will oversee the application process and all related administrative requirements. There's a little fact sheet included in the packet for you and the resolution. This is the recommended motion is to adopt a resolution authorizing us to apply for this grant. I think the amount is $50,000 that we would receive, up to $50,000. We're estimating the project at $20,000.
Thank you.
Sorry, quick question on that. So you mentioned if awarded, Business Oregon would administer the grant, so we don't have any obligation to administer the grant if we're awarded it? Who's Business Oregon?
Well, Business Oregon they fund a lot of different projects. So with the Safe Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund, for example, the project that we had a $4.7 million loan that we received through Business Oregon. Some of it was a grant. They fund that project, and they do a lot of water infrastructure projects. I think it's lottery dollars that are funneled through Business Oregon for these water projects.
I think it's a state organization, correct?
What's that?
Business Oregon is a state organization?
Yeah, State of Oregon. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I just hadn't heard of them before. Well, I'll say then I'll risk repeating myself on the next agenda item that all of these this is clearly reinforcing that it was money well spent hiring a grant manager to assist Tony and all of these, because there's a lot of money out there, and it's just a question of whether or not you have the time and resources to go after it. And it was certainly money well spent to do that. And I'm really happy to see these opportunities to improve our infrastructure and seek some of these grants.
I absolutely agree. I know cities all over our state are underfunded, and it's fantastic where we can get these things to do projects that are helpful to our community. So super happy to have somebody that knows the ins and outs and is able to tackle these things.
Anyone else? All right, I'm going to recommend, make a motion to adopt Resolution 25-R-1271 for submission of an application to the 2025 Oregon Health Authority Drinking Water Source Protection Fund for the implementation of protective measures at the city's drinking water intake site on the Chetco River.
I second.
Call the question?
Counselor Prater.
Yes.
Counselor Mullenberg.
Yes.
Counselor Colton.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, and now we're on to agenda item F6, which is Housing Infrastructure Support Fund Grant Application.
So here's another one. The city of Brookings is applying for funding through Housing Infrastructure Support Fund, a state program designed to assist local governments in planning and developing infrastructure necessary to support future housing projects. Brookings is experiencing a housing shortage, particularly in workforce and affordable housing. However, the city has not conducted a formal housing needs analysis to assess current and future housing demands. This funding would allow the city to initiate an HNA, housing needs analysis, which is essential for identifying housing gaps, guiding policy decisions, and positioning the city for future infrastructure investments to support residential development. New Oregon administrative rules related to housing are currently under development, and the administrative rules we're talking about here are rules that set guidelines for how you're supposed to prepare a housing needs analysis. Currently, those rules are changing and the requirements are changing, and so it's saying here that we're not going to have any news on how that's going to shake out until January of 2026. These forthcoming regulations will impact local housing policies and infrastructure planning. The proposed project timeline aligns with the release of these rules, ensuring that Brookings Housing Strategies is developed in accordance with the updated state regulations or requirements of OAR. In addition to funding the HNA, the grant would support planning efforts to identify and prioritize infrastructure improvements that will facilitate housing growth in Brookings. This proactive approach will help the city attract developers, streamline future grant applications, and ensure infrastructure readiness for residential expansion. Approving this application will allow city staff to move forward with securing funding that directly supports Brookings' long-term housing and infrastructure goals. We have a prepared resolution for you, and that's it.
How long ago was the last housing needs? That was a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was done in 2017, and it was really more of a marketing analysis, not necessarily a document that we could use. An example, I think I've mentioned this before, and they're currently in the process of doing a system development charge update to look at our methodology. We need an actual housing needs analysis to complete that. So unfortunately, we can't really pull the trigger in getting one done right now because of these rules are still kind of in flux, but when it's done, we'll be ready to go to do that. And that's something that I think I would hope this council is supportive of. I know the past council was. I think it's something we're going to have it in the future for what we're doing and grants that are available.
I think this is highly important for our community. We all know housing is one of the top priorities for our community. It's always a struggle, and for us to be able to get access to this information and not have to have that come out of funds that we need to operate, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us, and I absolutely want to see us take advantage of it.
I agree. Any other conversation? Okay, we have a motion.
We can make a motion to adopt Resolution 25-R-1272 to authorize the city manager, his or her, or his designee to submit a grant application to the Housing Infrastructure Support Fund.
I second.
Call the question?
Counselor Mullenberg.
Yes.
Counselor Folsom.
Yes.
Counselor Frida.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item G, remarks from the mayor, councilors, and city manager.
There was as you all know, I'm on the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority as a Brookings representative there. They just celebrated their 1-year anniversary with Advanced Air. Just a couple of little bit of information. They had 15,000 passengers this last year. Wow. 8,000 enplanements leaving Crescent City. They're now partnering with Alaska, which would be really good to be able to book from a central hub, I guess, to go to a lot of different places. So it'll save a lot of time. I don't have much else. That was mostly what I gathered. I know that they're hoping to this summer ramp up flights to a third flight to LA per week. So, and then potentially an additional one to Oakland. That's about it. Just wanted to share that info. I invited Ryan to come speak, hopefully in the near future, to kind of update everybody on the airport. And yeah.
I attended the celebration, and it was very well received. It was really surprising to see from the launch to the 1 year, people are excited.
Yeah, I think it's really a big improvement from the previous carrier. There were very limited flights in and out. They're really focusing on figuring out ways to convey that information to the public, and I think that partnership with Alaska Airlines is really going to help them to get more enplanements, and more enplanements means more money to improve the infrastructure, so that we can continue to have a good regional hub that we can fly out of. And I'm going to take advantage of it next month to fly down to see my mom in LA, and that's pretty convenient to be able to just go to Crescent City and take a flight straight out of there. So. Yeah.
I know we've been, trying to recommend that with a lot of our professionals that fly in and out, because really that's not one they think of. It's Medford, right. Sometimes North Bend, usually Eugene. But yeah, I think a few of them have been using it. I think, prior there was a lot of cancellations and people had a little trepidation, but it seems like they're pretty on time and reliable.
Yeah, they're a big improvement. And then, like I said, once they, now that they're partnering with Alaska, if you were to check a bag, say you were to book a flight that went to, Oakland and then off to, wherever, you check your bag once, you don't have to go and pull your bag and
come back
get back in line. I mean, it was, that's kind of how it was. And
yeah.
it was going to be a big improvement. So
Exciting.
I
I would just like to say thank you to all of your people that are, obviously this was a huge amount to go through, and they're doing a great job of getting it all out there for us, and we appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And as Tony alluded to, Wendy's been a godsend here. I'd only been here for about, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks after I got here when we interviewed for the grants manager. Lou had a stack of resumes waiting and says, we need to get this going before the council changes their mind. So, anyway, but no, seriously, but Wendy definitely rose to the top on that. And I'm just glad we stole her from Grants Pass. So she's been really, really remarkable to work with. And to echo Councilor Malberg's sentiments about, and I was joking with him earlier, I said I'm probably going to be switching out my United credit card to an Alaska Airlines credit card and start building up points, because that is a great thing to have. My goddaughter came out here in November, and she flew into Crescent City. And I incentivized, as you can steal this, I said, if you fly through Crescent City instead of Medford, I'll pay for all your meals and all your entertainment while you're here this week. And she said, deal. So, and it worked out really nicely. So one other quick thing I'd like to talk, thanks to Tony for going out last week. We went out to K-School. We took the My City, taking City Hall to K-School program out there. It was well received. He had a lot of interesting questions. He had this one little redhead girl ask him what the status of the Lone Ranch development is.
Prepared. Somebody prepped her.
I may have prepared.
Did you
her.
throw in the merry-go-round at Kid Town also?
Oh yeah. He got beat up pretty bad for that.
He got beat up bad.
So anyway, but no, it was great. And if you go out this door, you'll see Kia did a great job today. She put the entire wall over there. We put up every poster from when the mayor came out and asked them to do a poster like, if I were mayor, what would I do? What would my rules be? And we made them do a little self-portrait of themselves as the mayor. Some of those are pretty interesting too. But yeah, what a great program. And in fact, I haven't told Tony this yet, but Nick Chapman sent me an email late last week, and he said that he talked to some of the other teachers, and because of the success of this program, next fall they're going to form a small Parks and Rec committee at K-School and come to a Parks and Rec commission meeting and give ideas as to what kind of playground equipment, what kind of things that they would like to see at the park. And that's just a spin-off of this one little thing that we started there, which is pretty remarkable. But he said, and they definitely want to see this as for the 3rd grade every single year. They'd love to see this come through there. So, and it's been great. Next month, Chief Lee will be there presenting the fire department, bringing out some of his equipment and showing them how that all works. And then I saved the most boring for last. The city manager will go out in May and try to explain what I do. And honestly, I've told people before, when I was a kid, I had a civics teacher that was also the mayor of the small town that I grew up in. I've just become fascinated because during civics classes, he would bring the agenda and tell us what they did at the council meeting. I was like, wow, that is really cool. So anyway, you just never know who you're going to inspire, because these 3rd graders, probably about 8 years old, and 20, 30 years from now, they'll be sitting up here and, helping with making their city a better place to live and work. So anyway, the big thanks to everybody that's been a part of that. And, just kind of started out as literally walking by the LOC booth, and they had a little coloring book for kids, and started asking them about it. And then I called them the next week. I said, hey, can you send me like 100 of these? And they did. And you'll see out on the fruits of all this out on the wall out there. Really, really cool. So anyway, thanks to the mayor and Tony and everybody else who's helped participate in that.
I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of that then. I want to say thank you to the fire, police, and EMTs all came to the high school here last week and talked about them as career opportunities for people who want to stay right here, or even if they want to go outwards. So, it's really great bringing city people into the schools of all ages.
Yeah, I think that's great. I was talking with Kia. She said one of the posters that if I was mayor, I would get rid of broccoli. I think that was one of them.
She said she'd make it disappear.
Yeah, make broccoli disappear.
The one I saw said they would keep the swimming pool open year-round, so.
I didn't bribe them.
Millions of details are involved, and it's so easy for those things to happen. So I'm glad we were able to correct it and get the right ones in there, but I hope she's giving herself understanding for that. And the other thing I wanted to ask is that we could discuss, Senator Bonham has some legislation coming up on amending the fire map. And I would like us as a council to ask the city manager to research putting up a letter of support for that. I know we just found out this week the way that map is going to impact us as a city through a 600% increase to our insurance out of the golf course. And so I'm really hoping that we can get ahead of this and get this reversed, because the consequences to our community stand to be quite severe.
It's horrendous. I'm hearing from people all around. You know, the golf course is a great example, but it really hits when it's, you know, yourself or your neighbor or your family. Crazy times.
Would the rest of the council be agreeable to asking our
absolutely.
city manager to do that?
Absolutely.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Don't have anything to add tonight, so